Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. The meditation tonight invites you to remember. And even in that statement, there is a premise that inside of every single human being, there is knowledge. And that knowledge necessarily hasn't been forgotten. It's simply not at the top of remembering. It's not at the top of the pile of survival, you might say. The human being is asked to remember. Remember what? Remember what they came in with, that they inherited, you might say, from that which is God and Spirit and their soul. And that inheritance is the power of life. Once you start remembering who you are, that onion starts to be peeled. And the peelings come off, and they're everything you're taught that keeps you from knowing who you are. And they slough off generally, one by one, and the revelation leaves you gasping with the beauty of who you are and what you might be able to do that no one really truly has told you. So again, the premise is this, dear ones. You don't have to learn it from scratch. You don't have to climb stairs to deserve it. That's a metaphor. What you have to do is learn to remember. One of the things that we are teaching this month, this is the second channel of the month regarding this. One of the things we are teaching is that there is a new energy on this planet. You might say that the energy might have always been there, but it's greatly enhanced, and it has to do with two attributes. One is what we call not life force, but the power of life. The power of life. We've referred to this as an increased esoteric imprint of you on the planet. And that means that life itself, you being alive on the planet, is exceptionally valuable. Exceptionally valuable. More so than ever before. Especially those who would listen to something like this, who would be part of a program like this. Because the ones who are interested and attracted to this are the old souls that have come back in, some of whom have awakened and are starting to remember. How many of you are starting to realize that there's something beautiful in you that you were never told about? It's what I see. I see all of you. Every single one. And the interesting part is I see you now. And what is now? It's whenever you're watching this program. Doesn't matter if it's a year from now. It matters not. Time is not relevant at all in a multidimensional place. I see you. I know you. I see your magnificence and your beauty. Do you? Can you remember with me just how important it was to come in at this time? Most of you will say, no, I don't remember any of that. Well, then let me tell you, this was a choice you made, knowing that the shift might happen during your lifetime, knowing that this imprint you have on the planet would increase in its effect on others. You also have what we will call light energy. Now, light energy is an awareness factor of waking up to a bigger you. We've said that word before. waking up to the power of the higher self, you might say. That is the bigger you on earth. Is it possible that part of your soul, your divine soul, is a light like a searchlight in the dark, and you've discovered it, and you're carrying it? And the answer is yes. Is it possible that the channels of long ago that I gave about the lighthouse are starting to occur to you now? That you start understanding that the lighthouse is a guardian. It protects, it keeps people out of trouble. It guides them to a safer place. And that's part of that new light that you have. What I am telling you right now is that you're more important right now than you ever thought you would be to the scheme of divinity on the planet, the plan, the system that is here called the shift. And the most important part you play, I would say, is this, the subject of the second channel of the month: your impact on others. How do you see others? The answer is not well. The human being is conditioned to see others as they were told to see others. They don't see them in pure love. They don't see their soul. They see them as who they are in their culture. And that has been programmed and trained for a very long time. This is where your new light and your new power of life starts to come in. Because it starts to retrain and reframe your own reaction to how you might see others. The beauty of the angel inside is how you see another human being, another soul. Do you see them as a problem? Do you see them as trouble? Do you expect certain things from certain people because of their history or the way they look? Or can you start to reframe it all? And no matter who is in front of you and in what condition they're in front of you or what environment they're in front of you, no matter what, can you see their soul first? Can you love them just by looking at them? Wow. That is the lesson for today. This new esoteric imprint of yours on this planet is a new tool. And this is how it starts. It starts by enhancing your ability to see others wiser. It's a program that you are rewriting in yourself. And so many of you are starting to see other human beings in other groups, in other countries, far differently than your parents or your grandparents ever did. You're starting to look at them and say, well, they deserve what I deserve. Remembrance of their divinity. And they may be absolutely clueless. They may stand in front of you angry at you for some reason, even though they don't know you. Can you love them first? I gave a channel a while back. And I gave you the attributes of mastery. And the first one I want you to remember is always that one which is always the first one. Mastery does not react. Mastery observes. And then it uses compassionate action depending upon the circumstance. When you see a person who is angry, or you don't agree with, or you really don't think is correct and they're acting poorly, any of those things, it's a judgment, is it not? It's hard to get around. You're programmed to see it that way. As soon as you know perhaps their political affiliation isn't yours, what do you think? What if the first thing that happens is that you love them? And if you see they're in trouble, perhaps, because they're angry or they're frustrated, even if it's at you, your first reaction then is to send them this new light you have in compassionate action, because you know they're in trouble. Perhaps they are clueless to any part of their own divinity. Perhaps they're frustrated because they feel victimized in this life. They haven't discovered what you've discovered. So this second teaching I give you about this new imprint you have is how you see others and what you might do to change how you see others and to start working this puzzle of seeing all humanity and healing them as you look at them, and healing yourself as the two of you look at each other. All humans, dear ones, have the same divinity you do. And now we are working on remembering it all. I am Kryon, in love with humanity. Congratulations for more light on this planet, that I could give you this message today. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. We told you about so much life that is around you in what you call your galaxy, and some who have gone through this. You might say, we've been there. We know what's next. And that's why we're here. The title is The Love Machine. It's a metaphor, and we have said it now 3 other times, that Spirit speaks in metaphors. When you read Scripture, when you read perhaps the quatrains of Nostradamus, if you read any of these things, some of them don't make sense. And that is because Spirit speaks in the third language beyond that, which is the linear one that you read. You must understand what is meant and said. Love of the love machine is the love of the Creator. The machine is that used for you, the 3D idea of a machine that has a purpose, was built for a reason and does something. A machine that has many working parts, perhaps that you can even program and work and turn on and off if you wish, but there's purpose behind it. A machine that can go fast or slow as you wish. That's what it means. The love machine is the definition of the creation of humanity and what has happened on this earth. And we told you that so much was intervention. And it continues even today. I want to be more clear before you then go on a tangent of what I said in number 3 that might be incorrect due to your bias. I talked about there being 4 civilizations before yours. And I want to tell you more about that so you'll understand that it's not what you think. These were not worldwide civilizations, not like you have today. They were far more localized. They were not billions of people. They were millions, but not billions. Over 5,000 years each one. And the reason that it was not worldwide is obvious. They did not have the transportation opportunities that you have today, nothing even close. They didn't have any of the communication opportunities you have today, nothing even close. Therefore, you might say they were far more isolated on 4 other parts of the earth. You may have an idea that one melded into another and one melded into another. Some of them actually overlapped because they were separate. When you look at your own and you see and research where you think you started, not understanding that there were others before you, you're correct. There wasn't anything there before where you started at that area. Oh, but there was in other areas. Sometimes the areas were similar, like I told you in Egypt. Sometimes they overlapped. But dear ones, it's not what you think. You didn't have 4 worldwide civilizations. In addition, there are also anomalies to this. You will find eventually 4 other distinct footprints on the planet in different areas that go back almost 30,000 years. That is a time frame that responds to the wobble of the planet, which is 26,000 years. Each civilization represents almost 1/5 of the 26,000 years. It also corresponds with the timing of the Mayan calendar, which tracks Civilization 5, which you are in. At 2012, we renamed your civilization because you have gone through this time of change and the wobble of the earth. You are Civilization 6, and I'm getting to that in a moment. The anomalies, let's speak of those. There were some groups on the planet who were there for almost 50,000 years. That's 2 cycles of the earth's wobble. And they did not go through the changes of the 4 before you that I just described. There's always holdouts or anomalies. None of these things are cookie cutter, or what you would say there's 1 or 2, and which number are you, and when did you start and stop. They overlap, they go into each other. But there were 3 distinct places on the planet, isolated, where human beings lived and worked in the same culture for 50,000 years. And you'll say, well, how could that be when the others were coming and going? I want you to examine those 3 when you find out what they are, and you will, and you already know one of them: lack of resources. If they were always looking day by day for resources, they did not have the opportunities to go into the kinds of social attributes that you do, or that the other civilizations did. They were always in subsistence and survival. And they lasted a very, very long time. When you have the resources in any civilization, and sociologists will tell you this, it builds upon itself. It gets bigger. And those resources lead to organizations that would never happen in a subsistence organization or even a subsistence civilization. When you're always looking to the next meal and always going to someplace else to find it, it's hard to have the elegance of the kind of organization that you'd have in a modern civilization that I'm speaking of. Those who had plenty of resources would then have more, and they'd want more. And they'd grow into other things, and they'd be more elegant. And they'd have some inventions. You know the story. And so I wanted to give you that explanation before you then examined what I'd said and said, well, Kryon says there were 4 civilizations on the planet before ours, and you have this idea they were all worldwide. They were not. Isolated, smaller, profoundly different. You're not 6,000 years old. 50,000, more like it. But the majority of that which took place was in the last 30. What about now? What can I tell you about now? You're still, right now, subject to intervention. Big time intervention. You have free choice, dear ones, but there's all manner of things that Spirit does for you. And some of them are in that major look department that my partner has spoken of over and over, where with free choice you can do anything you want to, but if there's a light in the corner, it gets your attention to look at it or not look at it. Do you understand the difference? This is part of the love machine. Spirit cares so much about you, where you're going next and all, that there's going to be a lot of lights to look at. That is a metaphor for things that might attract your attention in order to give you something that it's time to give you. Have you ever looked at your own history of inventions? I'll get there in a minute, because there's something you might not be aware of, and I'm going to give it to you. And then you can look back and study it. Right now on this planet, right now, those things called the nodes and the nulls left by those from the stars originally are starting to work. Those things which have been described to you even this day in that which you call your meeting, left by those from the stars, put here in case you made it, are now opening their matched pairs of plus and minus, and they work together as pairs to start to clean up the grid systems of this planet and get rid of the old energy biases, the old energy crystallization remembrances, even affecting the Akashic record of humanity, in order to fast track you into a higher place of consciousness. You can't sit in the mud and expect to have an ascension planet, dear ones. You can't stay in the dirt of the old energy and expect to have some miracle where you climb out of that which you've created for thousands of years. An old energy which doesn't let you get ahead of the corruption and the horror, all of the biases, the old thinking. Something has to happen to help you through this, and it is. I want to tell you something. You can make anything you want of this. I'll tell you something. The galaxy knew you made it. That's how important you are. Those ascended planets, which are all over the galaxy, way before you, have gone through what you've gone through, who've increased that which you would call their DNA, who went to a higher consciousness, knew you passed that marker. I want you to think about that. You are known in so many places as that distant planet was now starting to go through the shift, like they did. Did you know that you have so many others that you would never know or recognize or ever meet, giving you energy as you go through this as a planet? Did you ever think that? Do you think that you have a star family that cares about you? Did you ever think, is that too way out for you? Oh, I'll talk to you in 100 years, okay? We'll come back and discuss whether this is eye-rolling or whether there's some substance to this when they start talking. There's so many things I'd like to tell you now, but the major one is this: that your star family left a system, a machine. It's esoteric. I can't tell you much more about how it works except of where it works, and that's been explained. When they set the grid system of this planet for you, to help you in remembrances, to help you in emotions and all of these things are just filled with dirt, with all the horror of war and all the remembrances of dysfunction. And slowly they are being vaporized, turned into light, neutralized, so that with free choice you can move down a path which is clear of the boulders. And that's the truth. It's why you're starting to see some refreshing things. The things that you've seen, that my partner has talked about, that Me Too movement that you talk about, which is not about women, dear one. That's the integrity of human to human, and it's about time. When did you think that would change? And why now? After hundreds and hundreds of years of inappropriate things there. And now it starts to change. The abuse of children in certain religious organizations, an oxymoron to the highest, and starting to shift and change, correct itself, be noticed. Solution
to things you never thought would have solutions, from those who you never thought would help you solve them, are starting to occur. And there are those who say, I don't believe it, Kryon, I don't believe it. Look at our politics. May I make a statement? Politics will be last. And you can see why. Because it has to do with power. It has to do with greed. It has to do with all of the other things that would have large influences on you. It's going to be last, but it will occur. And it will occur because the consciousness of the planet will not elect dysfunctional leaders. That's coming. Not soon enough, but that's coming. That's number one. Intervention. Right now, for you, the machine continues, and oh, it's speeding up. But there's more. Inventions. Everything you have right now, including that device you're watching me on or listening to me on, is archaic. Absolutely archaic. It's all you've got. Wait till you see what's next. There are things coming that will display a world you don't even know exists. It'll make it look like you were savages who had no idea about electricity until it came. It'd be like going back to the Dark Ages and asking them how their internet is, or how about their Wi-Fi. And they would say, what is that? And you had to go through 14 steps to tell them what invention led to what invention, in order to get to the one that you're talking about. That is where you are right now compared to where you will be soon. Invention. Is it possible there has been intervention with invention? Well, you'll say, well, that was free choice, and we as humans discovered the things we discovered with free choice, and it's accelerated in these last few years, granted, but we're inventing as we go. Really? Do you find it interesting that you've only had flight for such a short amount of time, when you've been watching birds for thousands of years? Did anybody try anything? Did you know that the Chinese were flying kites thousands of years ago? You only got powered flight recently. And did you realize that when you did, the Wright brothers only beat the French by 2 weeks? Has anyone ever given you the idea that invention seems to happen all over the world at the same time? Radio, flight, others? That whoever invented something and gets the credit for it, there was usually somebody else on the cusp of the same invention right around the corner. What am I telling you? Intervention. You get the inventions when you're supposed to get them. The ideas of Major Look are implanted, and whoever gets it first gets the prize. But whether it's the discovery of electricity in its form today, or whether it comes from the names that you knew and respect, they could have been different, depending upon who got it first, because the idea came to the planet, and the planet then worked on it as a planet. What are you saying, Kryon? I am telling you that the inventions that you got, even nuclear, came at the right time with free choice to say, here you are now at the cusp, what are you going to do with it? You're going to destroy yourselves? You were scheduled to destroy yourself. You know that. That's free choice. That was not part of the love machine. That's part of the human machine. For some of you seniors, I say this again, what was the prophecy when you were born? And the answer was, you wouldn't be here now. The actual prophecy in the scripture foretold a future that you did not participate in because consciousness changed. Do you understand that? How many of you are old enough to remember that your parents expected World War III. That with the advent of nuclear weapons, it was only a matter of time before you would wipe yourselves out. Take a look at your movies. You're still wiping yourselves out. All of the aftermath movies you have, that's the old bias of where you would have been. It's rampant. It's everywhere because that was the schedule you had for yourselves. And you didn't do it. And you didn't do it. And that's why the galaxy knows you, dear ones, because you didn't do it. And you are now wide open for what's coming. Inventions are coming, and there will be some major look things. Who's going to get them first? It'll depend upon whether you're looking or not, or whether your biases keep you from looking. If you are of the opinion you know it all, or you think you know what's coming next, you won't see them. But for those, especially the young people, who know better and say, I know it's out there, I can feel it, I want to be part of it, it's coming. It's already here in some ways. I predicted it. I told you. Look for magnetics. I'm the magnetic master. Now you know why. It has to do with the grid, the magnetic field. It has to do with the use of magnets in your future that will eliminate all fossil fuels on this planet being used for power creation, period. Period. You won't need them. It's going to be the end of batteries. You won't need them. Magnetic motors, small and large, which will spin forever. The only thing it's going to wear out is the bearings. And they will go and they will go, and whether it's a giant one in your city or a small one in a tribe in Africa, they're going to give them the internet, they're going to give them power, they're going to give them health. They'll be connected to the world like they never were before. That's just one. It's here. The ability to grow enough food for everyone. Easy. Coming. Coming. The elimination of disease on the planet. Oh, that's also part of what is coming with a higher consciousness. You're going to see, when you look backwards, you're going to ask the question, sociologists, why is it that humans are living longer and they seem to be healthier even though there's less medicine? Think about it. Yes, there'll come a day when on television, those commercials for drugs will no longer be there. A new idea will be there instead. Consciousness, trained consciousness. That's exactly what Adironda speaks of. Training yourself to expect beneficial things in your life so that the physics will cooperate with you and they'll appear. You think that's magic? It's coming. Oh, Kryon, you can't, this is not right. You see, if we live a long time and there's a whole lot of people and there's no more disease, we're going to overpopulate. We'll have too many people. And we've said this before. Part of a mature civilization is the ability to control its birth rate. Did you hear that? You already have places on this planet with zero growth. That is where you're going. Intelligence, to know when to have children and when not, and why, and plan for it, instead of simply having a lot of them. That is an old energy idea, mostly developed from organizations who want a lot of membership, so you'll have a lot of kids. That is not mature. You are entering a new phase of realization and maturity. New inventions, and then there's the big one, and it's coming, and I've told you, it's almost here. If you'll allow it, the quantum lens. There is a way with plasma to see multidimensional fields in all of their glory. You'll see gravity. It's a multidimensional field, and when you see gravity, you'll see the patterns. Then you'll see how to adjust the patterns. Physics, all physics. You'll be able to see the multidimensional aspects of your own Merkaba. And everybody will take a deep breath and go, this is a world we didn't even know existed. And there it is, and you're looking at it. And then, you know. One thing spurns another. And the difference between what's coming and what has been is that you will not weaponize them. Did you hear that? There'll be no reason to weaponize them when the resources are plentiful and human beings can eat. And they don't have to have the disease, and they don't have to have those that would control them because they're poor. These things are going to happen on this planet as they've happened on other planets, slow or fast, depending upon the free choice of your machine, dear ones. But that love machine, it's here for good. Yes, you have free choice to turn it all around and destroy yourself. Yes, you do. But you won't. Because there's already been a foothold. As the nodes and the nodes continue to clean up those things, those dysfunctions, all that horror, all that past, and you will not repeat the same mistakes. Because it's time for the new human. Slower than you want. Not all in the same place. There will be bright spots. There'll be dark spots. There'll be 2 steps forward and 1 step back, but you will go forward, and these inventions are already here. That's what I wanted to tell you. That's the love machine. From the creation of this planet to today. Where we see it going, why Kryon is here, and why there's going to be a change in what I do. Dear humans, we love you. Spirit, God, whatever you want to call this creative source, cares about every single one. You're not a victim here. Can you sit and relax and finally breathe and say, I see and feel that there is a light in what he is saying, what Kryon is saying, his partner is saying. Because if you can, I made you look. I made you look. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. If you ask, what is the goal of humanity? The answer is to evolve. And so where we are going in that which is teaching, in invention, in consciousness, is going to feed or trigger something in the old soul first. And that will be human evolvement. Sitting beside me, the teacher Peggy has been teaching this since the beginning. She's explained the structure of evolvement of humanity, how it's going to evolve, what it looks like, into that which is the study of the human itself, the tones and the motion. There will be others, many others. And all that they have is the same kind of message. How do you get from A to B when it comes to consciousness? How can you become more compassionate? How can you change that which some say is unchangeable? And then, old soul, once you might have accomplished it, how is it then given to the planet? All of these things are esoteric and very doable. This is why we're here. All that is on this planet revolves around only one thing, and that is the human upon it. And the evolution of that human in a conscious way
is the only thing that will change it.
I am the wisdom of the feminine divine, in honor of the wisdom of the masculine divine, speaking in these times of change to remind you of the unity that is within. In your journey of evolution, you will find yourself merging inside, deep within, loving yourself, becoming your own beloved, to a place that brings forth a fountain of this beautiful energy of wholeness, redefining that which has been considered holy in the expression of infinite love in your everyday life, when no one's looking even. And when that fountain of love continues to flow, there comes a moment where the human being cannot contain it anymore. For as they have become their own beloved, they become the beloved of their family of humanity. And they fall in love with one another in the new energy, in the new ways. It is understanding. It is the experience, beyond the understanding, into the experience of the energy of the unified being, with respect that each one of you comes with a unique resonance. So the invitation today, from the wisdom of the feminine divine, is to become your own beloved, to deepen that. And we promise you there will come a moment where the resonance is so full you can no longer hold it, and it is shared. And then you begin to lose awareness of where it begins and where it ends. For indeed, the presence of the infinite universe is constantly imprinting you. I am with you always, because I am you. I love you always, because that is the heartbeat. That is the heartbeat of who I am. And that is a truth for each one of you. We share the words. Would you care to speak them? I am with you always, because I am you. I am your beloved. For the heartbeat of my being is infinite love. Blessings of evolution in the new energy. Another breath. One more thing. This love is powerful, electrical, transformational. And you asked for it. Together let us affirm, and so I am.